Hi and good evening. My name is Bradley Chapman and welcome to Raw TV. This evening I've got the great pleasure to be joined by a dear friend of mine, Mr. Robert Copping. And today we're going to talk about the 7 mistakes to avoid in your business plan. I just said to Robert before we went live, we can have a little bit of banter at the end of the webcast, and perhaps you can use me as a guinea pig and I can tell you some of my issues and concerns. But we haven't got that long. So in any case, it is my great pleasure to be joined with Robert this evening. And Robert is the author of a great book called The Heart of Business Success. And today we're going to be talking about business planning. I spoke to Robert, I spoke to Robert on and off for a good couple of years now. Robert's been very involved with the network, has been a great supporter of the business and of myself personally. For that, I'm very, very thankful. He's run an entrepreneur school for us. He's been involved in looking at advertising and marketing and podcasts and interviews and lots of other bits and pieces. So we're very pleased to have him. He's a very, I think Robert's a very clinical man in his approach, and I'm full of admiration in that respect, because I am a great door opener, a great I go out and I want to go and achieve things, but my execution is nowhere near as good as what it should be. And some of the services that Robert offers and the skills that he has really complements me. It doesn't just compliment me, it complements your business as well. So just before I pass across to Robert, my usual slide on Raw Business. Who are we? We're an online business and entrepreneur networking company, and we have thousands of members who are becoming more connected every single day. Now, we offer you a mixture of marketing, advertising and networking for your business, and we publish a leading business magazine called Raw Business. You know, we're just like you guys out there. You know, we're trying to move a business forward every single day. We're learning from our mistakes, and isn't learning from mistakes interesting because you get kicked in the teeth and you get back up and you carry on. I keep reminding myself of Edison at times like this when you're, at a challenging stage in the business. But in any case, joining Raw Business is completely free, so please feel free to visit us at rawbusiness.com, join, log on and register with us and get involved in what we're doing. And you know, we're just chasing this business dream just like you guys. And as the title says at the top there, everyday people achieve extraordinary things, and I honestly believe that, you know, with my hand on my heart. Normally when I introduce someone that I've welcomed to Raw Business Team and agreed to come on board with us, I normally sort of set the tone, and business planning is such an important and vital part of your business career, especially in the early stages, because, you know, with your foundations being built correctly, then your business can flourish and grow, and if your foundations aren't right, then it can cause all sorts of problems. So for me to listen to Robert tonight, it's going to be, I'm sure it's going to give me a few nuggets to take away and to implement in my own business. But without further ado, I'm going to pass you across to Robert, and he's going to deliver tonight's subject. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go back to the opening slide at the moment, just so that you understand, and it's sending back the message to you guys that tonight is about 7 mistakes to avoid in your business plan. It gives me great pleasure to introduce to Raw Business members and TV viewers, Mr. Robert Copping. Welcome to Raw TV, Robert.
Thanks very much.
We hope you enjoy the show. I'm going to move off screen now. Robert's going to take centre stage, and as usual, I'll come back on the end, and myself and Robert will have a little bit of banter about some real life scenarios. So welcome to Raw TV, Robert, and enjoy the show.
Thank you. So, as Bradley said, it's 7 mistakes to avoid in your business plan. And the first question is, why write a business plan? A lot of people do that because they need to get a bank loan or they want to get an investor on board. But I would urge you actually to write one anyway for yourself, even if it's your own money you're investing. Because if you think about a business investor or a lender, they want to make sure that their money's secure. And if it's the same with your money, you want to make sure it's secure. So these 7 mistakes can apply to your own business plan. So if you don't need to borrow money or to get an investor, just think about it from your own perspective, and maybe just write it and then look at these 7 mistakes and come back to it a couple of days later, a couple of weeks later, and review it as if you were your investor, like an alter ego coming back on and saying, so how does my business plan stack up? It's my money, it's my time I'm investing. So we've done quite a few business plans for investors and for lenders, and the usual kind of thing that they come up with is a long list of issues that make them just roll their eyes and say, what a lot of old rubbish to this business plan, and most of them don't get read. So what I'm going to do is take you through the 7 biggest mistakes that we tend to see that business investors and lenders complain to us about when we're producing plans, or when they see plans and then they ask us to produce one for them. So without further ado, I'm just going to show you this ebook which you can actually download free of charge from our website. I'm going to take you through the 7 mistakes that are in this. So at any time you can just grab a copy of this free of charge, download it from our website, and you can go through the whole lot. So number one, first thing, is credibility. So let's look at it this way. They're investing their money, they're investing the bank's money or their own money, and they want to make sure that you're the kind of person who will either deliver that or that interest payments for the duration of the loan, or if it's an investor, they want to get a return on that investment. And it's you and your team that's going to do that for them. So you have to have the credibility to be able to pull that off. I like to think of it this way. Imagine you're going for a 6-figure salaried job. So it's £100,000. If your salary already is about £75,000, then you have the credibility. But supposing your salary is only £35,000, for example, you're probably not even going to get an interview. So the first part of your business plan is to make sure you have the credibility to pull this off in their eyes. For the bank, that means having a track record of running the kind of business that would probably require the kind of lending that you're asking for. If you haven't done it before, it's very difficult for them to feel comfortable that you're going to be able to deliver it this time. For an investor, they want to know that, have you run a similar business, a similar size business in a similar market before? So a typical mistake that people make, number one on our list, is that they ask for something where they've really got no track record, no credibility in that space. And what I've written down here is aiming for glory too soon. There's nothing wrong with actually asking for less and then building up. Having businesses, a lot of businesses ask for a small amount and then grow the amount that they want as they go through the period. You don't have to say, for 5 years I need £500,000. It could be much less that you're asking for in the initial stages. And when you've actually proved that you can deliver that, you don't have to wait for the end of that loan to expire before you ask for the next tranche. You might just need 6 months of credibility against that, showing that you've reliably serviced the debt. For an investor, they're very keen to know that you're the kind of person that can pull this off. So another mistake that people have is that they don't necessarily have the team in place that can do that. If you know you've got a bit of some people in the team missing, like marketing or finance, then maybe you can say, with the funding, we can get these people on board to augment our team and make it more credible. Okay, so that's number one done. Make sure you've got the credibility. Number two, market analysis. A lot of people put a business plan together and don't analyze the market first. If you don't have an analysis of the market, the investor or the lender is going to think either you haven't bothered to research the market, or maybe if you say, we've got no competition to what we're doing, they might think there's no demand for what you're doing. So an analysis of how big is the market, who's buying this kind of service or product, and who are the competition that you're going to have to fight against in order to muscle your way into this space. So a good analysis of the size of the market is imperative, and the pet hate that lenders or investors really complain about is that if you do estimate the size of the market and then say, we only need 1% of that and we would have revenues of, that's just lazy. The way to do it is to say, we are going to sell this many, and our typical customer base is going to buy repeat business like this, if you're lucky enough to have repeat business, this many volumes over a period, this kind of frequency. When you work that out, you can work out how many customers you would need in order to deliver the revenues that you're predicting in your business plan, and then you can say this translates to a market share of a certain amount. And that's great because you've built it up from what you intend to do and the way that you intend to do it, and then you've translated that back to what the size of the market is and what percentage that indicates. Think of it like an easy one to do. I don't know why I do this one because I don't have any hair, but I always relate to the hairdresser. So people only get their hair cut in, or hair styled I should say for most of these, but they only get their hair styled either where they live or where they work. So if there are already in a catchment area 20 hairdressers, then each one can reasonably expect to get 5% of the market. So if your business plan says that in order to hit your targets you need 20% of the market, it's immediately going to flag or ring bells with the investor or the lender. It needs to stack up as a reasonable projection in comparison with the competition that's already out there. Okay, so make sure you've got a good, robust market analysis. That's number 2. Number 3 is, okay, so you know what you need to achieve, now you need a marketing plan. So if we've worked out in our market analysis how many customers we need to figure out how likely is it that we would get a prospect to turn into a customer. So we tend, when we're doing a business plan, we tend to start with, what does 1 in 3 look like for your business? Now some do better than that, and they do 1 in 2. Some are a lot worse, 1 in 4, 1 in 5. But how many prospects would you actually need in order to turn, in order to get the kind of customer numbers that you want? So if it's 1 in 3 and you need 100 customers, that's 300 prospects you need to find. And if the conversion rate for a suspect is somebody who you suspect might have a need for what you do, of course they might not be a prospect because they could have literally just bought from your competitor. In which case, yeah, they were a suspect last week, but they're not turning into a prospect for you right now because they've already just bought, or they may not have the money for what you want, or the timing might not be quite right. So typically, suspect to prospect conversion rate might only be 1 in 5, 1 in 2. Only 1%. It could be 1%, 2%, 3%, but probably no more than 5%, which is 1 in 20. So think about how 10 customers can convert into something like 300 prospects if it's 1 in 3, and think about how many suspects you would need in order to deliver the number of prospects. And if it was 20 times that, your numbers start to really stack up, and then you can't achieve those just by networking. You need to do something bigger than that. When you actually put it like that in your business plan and show that you've thought about the marketing plan and the types of marketing initiatives that you can undertake, whether it's advertising, networking, doing a podcast like this, social media, Google AdWords, any of the options that you can come across. Work out how many they may deliver, how many suspects they may deliver, how many prospects that translates to, and how many customers that could be. It's very easy to say I need 10 per month. It's very difficult to actually get in front of the number of suspects you need to in order to deliver that 10 per month. And if you've ever watched the Dragon's Den, you'll know that one of the things they say is, what have you put in your marketing budget? And somebody might say, oh, we've earmarked £50,000 for marketing, and I'm out. They use their experience to say, that's nowhere near enough. We know that you're going to need to put a lot more money into marketing to achieve the kind of numbers you're talking about. So you need to show within your plan that you've thought about that, and that your marketing budget stacks up to the numbers that you've put in there to deliver the projections that you've put in there. Okay, so that was number 3. We've only done 3 so far. So number 3, marketing plan. Number 4 is cash flow. Now, a lot of people put a P&L together, a profit and loss together. The profit and loss is very necessary, but it's not the same as cash flow. Businesses don't go bust because of profit and loss. They can be very profitable, but they tend to go bust because they run out of cash. And of course, you're going with this business plan to ask for money from a lender or an investment from an investor. So they want to know that what you're asking for is the kind of money that's going to deliver the plan. And if you don't ask for enough, then you're going to have to come back later. One of the things the banks don't like is for you to say, can I borrow this much? And then within 3 months go back and say, I didn't ask for enough. Because you've lost credibility, which was number 1 in our list of the 7 mistakes to avoid. So work out your cash flow. Now, what's the difference between P&L and cash flow? Well, let's say you're a business like a consultant with hardly any cost. You've got no product costs, very limited product costs. And let's say you're below the VAT threshold. Your P&L, if you ask for money up front, is very similar to your cash flow. But if you start to offer terms, or if you're a product-based business where you buy stock, which are different payment terms to the payment terms you ask your client for, and you're above the VAT threshold, then of course your cash flow can look very, very different to your P&L, your profit and loss. And you can be extremely profitable, but you can still run into cash flow problems. So you've probably heard the term overtrading. Overtrading is when you're doing well enough to want more business, you go out, you get more business, but it costs you money to service that business, that extra client or customer before they pay the bill and you get the money in. So the steeper your growth gradient, the more cash you need in reserve to deliver that growth. Overtrading is when you're growing too fast and you run out of cash to service that growth. So in your plan, you need to show the cash requirement, and you need to be able to go to the bank or the investor and ask for sufficient to deliver that growth. So if you haven't done a cash flow projection, then they've got nothing to judge your growth gradient against the amount of money that you're asking for to deliver that growth. If you need assets in order to deliver that growth, which could be machinery, it could be a building, then you also need to consider the capital expense. You have to pay that capital expense out, and then you depreciate it in your P&L over a period. So the P&L can look very different if you've got large capital items. And it may be the capital items that you're asking for the investment for. So consider whether or not you might lease those items, certainly initially, and then you don't need the capital expense, which would hit the cash flow. Okay, so if you haven't done a cash flow, they can't judge. So mistake number four is not presenting a cash flow to your investor or your lender. Okay, we're over halfway now. Number five, a sensitivity analysis. A sensitivity analysis is you are looking at what this business might be sensitive to. Let's take a simple one. Maybe you buy a product in euros and you sell in pounds sterling. How far can that exchange rate move before you start to have difficulties in your business? So you're looking at any weakness that you might have, any threat that you might have, and how sensitive your business is, and those projections are, to any outside influence that you may not be able to control. And a good way to deal with this is to say, okay, we can buy stock from Europe, a European operation, or we can buy stock from an Asian operation. Now the Asian operation may be in a different currency. It could be in the Chinese currency, for example, but it costs you more to ship the product. So it could be that you tend to buy from the European operation. But if the pound falls against the euro, you may want to include some kind of sensitivity as to how far it would move before you switch to one of your other suppliers. At least you have some kind of backstop as to how far and how sensitive these figures are to something that you can't control. Okay, a lot of people write a business plan and think they have to present everything positive. But part of the sensitivity analysis is to say, we have a weakness. And again, this weakness could be that you don't have the people on board that you would really need to deliver the best for your business and to achieve the projections. So it could be that you highlight that weakness. Don't wait for them to spot it, but it's a strength to be able to say, we have this weakness, and as soon as we get the money, we can put that weakness right. So you can tie that back to your business planning. Another issue is a threat. You do a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis, not just of your own business, but in terms of your competitors as well. You can include that within your business plan. So what are the threats to being able to achieve this? It could be a new technology is just around the corner. So like HMV recently, they've had serious problems selling CDs when everybody's downloading. Now that threat was coming for a long time, and banks were still lending to them. So you can see that if you can actually identify the threat, mitigate for that, and show how you're going to behave differently, you would add credibility, and the bank is more likely to say, yeah, we'll lend to this guy because he's thought about the problems, thought about the problems of the weaknesses within the business and the threats to the business from externally. Okay, so that's the fifth mistake, not having a sensitivity analysis and not indicating where you may be able to mitigate those. So, number 6, the audience. One of the problems that we see with business plans all the time is that people are writing for, they want to go to an investor and a bank at the same time, but they write for the same audience. But a bank has a different issue to an investor when they're reading a business plan. They need to make sure that you have the capability to finance that debt for the duration of that loan. So they don't want you to appear too ambitious. They want you to be sufficiently ambitious to be able to repay the debt, but not so crazy that the chances are you'll trip up and not be able to pay the interest on the loan and the repayments on the loan. So you can imagine a lender has a different set of criteria to an investor. An investor wants to see the upside. They want to stretch you as far as they can to see how well this business could go, so that they can see the return, the potential return on their investment compared with other opportunities. And if you're too cautious, you won't look so great compared with some of the other opportunities that are out there, so you won't attract that investment. So the mistake is to write the same plan for everybody. It may have to be different depending on your audience. So think about who you're writing this plan for as you write it, and that goes right through the projections. The projections have to be different too, not just the way you write it. Then the investor is very much looking for scalability, whereas the bank cares much more about how robust and how likely your market is to be there in the long term for you. Okay, so think about who you're writing to. Now we're down to the last one. Number 7 on my list of 7 mistakes to avoid in your business plan is the structure of your business plan. The biggest mistake that you can make is put a nice thick document in front of somebody and expect them to have the time to wade through it and tease out every bit of information that they want, because they just won't do it. They haven't got the time. If they see another one sitting beside it and it has a fantastic, well laid out structure with an index that says go here for what you're looking for, they're much more likely to pick that up and flick through it, because they know there's a chance of finding what they want in order for them to decide whether or not they want to read the document in detail. Because different investors, for example, have different criteria for investment, either the amount that they will invest, or the technology that they choose to invest in, or just who you are and the market that you're in. A lender would have their own criteria. What they want to see is a business plan that's really well laid out so that it can immediately go to where they need to go. So an index is paramount. The next thing that they need within the structure is an executive summary. If you have an executive summary, they know that they can go to that and read just 2 pages. And if they just read those 2 pages, they'll know everything that they need to know in order to make their decision to wade through the rest of it. But if you don't give them that executive summary, they may not even bother to start reading because it looks like too much effort. So an executive summary is the last thing that you write, but it's the first thing that they read. So the structure is very important. Write the rest first, because otherwise you won't know what to write in your executive summary. And then when you're doing your executive summary, you make sure that you hit the important things that the investor or the lender, the audience that you're writing to, make sure you write the executive summary to appeal to those kind of people. And it may be different if you're having to write a business plan for a lender or an investor, so you may have to write 2. Okay, that's it. The 7 mistakes to avoid in your business plan. There are other ones, but I think they're less important. So I'm just going to run through them very quickly for you, reading off the index here. Number 1, credibility. Make sure you have the credibility. Don't ask for what you don't have the credibility for, because refusal often offends. Market analysis. Know your market. Make sure you know who it is that you're selling to, what their buying profile is like, and who the competitors are. What size of that market do you need in order to hit your projections? Marketing plan. Make sure you have a marketing plan that actually looks at the number of customers you need, the number of prospects that translates to, and how many suspects you will need in order to get the number of prospects that you need to get the number of customers that you need. Cash flow. Your cash flow is very different from your profit and loss account, but it's fundamental to being able to decide exactly how much money you need to borrow or get an investor to invest. Sensitivity analysis. How likely is this business to succeed if other parameters move out of a certain range? What weaknesses do you have that you need to mitigate for, and what threats might there be to the business from outside the business that you may need to mitigate for as well? Audience. Write the plan according to the reader. Structure. Make it easy for them to find what they're looking for and to refer back to it. And make the structure have an executive summary that appeals to that audience. And that's it. And if you want to look at anything that I've said in more detail, you can download a copy of this, The 7 Mistakes to Avoiding Your Business Plan. Download it from our website, sitepath.co.uk. Okay, good luck. Hope it goes well for you. Bradley.
Robert, thank you very much indeed. I'm going to come back in and join screen with Robert. Yeah, I mean, I was just going to put my final thoughts there. When you reach out for help, it's amazing what happens. And I was talking, I've had a strange day today, so I've been with my business coach this afternoon. I've had Evan Morton this afternoon, was talking about startup procedures and emotions that you go through, and then finish off the day with yourself, talking about business planning. I'm just going to go over Robert's contact details there. So if you want to contact Robert on telephones 028 977 8226, email robert.copping@sitepath.co.uk, and web address www.sitepath.co.uk. Also, Robert is the author of a fantastic book called The Heart of Business Success. I'm not sure if the book's available from your website, is it?
Or from Amazon. You can get it from Amazon.
From Amazon.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
The easiest place most people go there.
Brilliant.
Or any online retailer, actually.
So yeah, I mean, just going back to the thanks for that, Robert. Going back to the 7 mistakes to avoiding your business plan. I just want to go back over a couple of points, and I can only speak from myself, and I'm sure you'll get inquiries yourself directed off the Raw TV webcast. But when you're I'm going through this whole thing at the moment where when you're in the business, you're stuck in the business, and I call it the goldfish bowl effect.
Yeah.
You're the goldfish inside the bowl as the business owner, and you're spinning around like mad as a March hare at times, and you're trying to get your business off the ground, you're trying to grow your business, you're trying to manage the business, and a business plan can come in at any time. It could be a business plan you've done at startup, it could be something that you're revisiting because the business is changing course, or there's been a new product or some change, so you have to relook at your plan. SitePath, the company that you own, is more than just business planning. There's other things around it, isn't there? So this may well be the starting point today. But the question I'm getting to is this: that you've just gone through the 7 mistakes avoiding business planning. How else can you help members, companies, aspiring entrepreneurs, existing business owners to move their business forward? Working with, I mean, obviously business planning is it's the main thing about what you do, but there's other facets to your company that can assist them. What are they, and how can it help people? And are there a certain business type that you prefer to work with, startup, established, or do all of these fall within your remit?
Okay. One of the most difficult things for a business to get is finance. So we obviously help people to get finance, and that may be through a bank, it may be just an overdraft facility, or it may be a loan, but it also may be to get an investor on board. So we certainly help to do that. And if you look at page 1 of our website, it actually shows there that we also operate a syndicate, the SitePath Investment Syndicate. So we do actually invest in small businesses, and these are the businesses that find it difficult to get finance. So they tend to be the smaller ones that would struggle. Maybe they don't have 6 months of track record to go to a bank. So the bank says, yeah, we'd like to lend you some money, but not until you have a track record, so come back and see us in a year. An investor wouldn't really look at that just yet, because maybe you haven't proved the principle of what you're trying to do. So there's this gap, a frustrating gap in the market in terms of funding.
Yeah.
So we've recognised that and said that we would step in, and we've done that and tried to help people to get off the ground in that way. So we're talking about relatively small amounts of money to get them just across that hurdle, maybe to get them to the 6 months or a year where they could maybe get finance from somewhere else. So we're not large investors or for large sums, but just through proof of principle. And another thing that we do is marketing. One of the things that people really struggle with is, I talked a lot in that one of the mistakes about the marketing plan. You can't write a marketing plan unless you've written a business plan, because that's where you actually work out how many customers that you need in order to hit your projections. And the projections are related to your ambition. And what's your ambition over the next 5 years, and do you have the funding for that ambition?
Yeah.
So when we do a business plan for our clients, we're looking at balancing their level of ambition with their ability to fund that ambition,
Right.
which is why it often changes. But the hardest thing that a new business has is, how am I going to get these customers? They usually think it's a lot easier than it is.
Yeah.
I was in front of a client the other day, and he said, wow, these numbers are really sobering. An experienced businessman, but he said these figures are sobering. I think most people try to get off the ground without realizing how difficult it is to get the number of customers you need.
Yeah, customer acquisition is a tough one, absolutely.
So we help there too.
Yeah.
We have a service specifically about low-cost marketing. So we believe that you should hit all the low-cost marketing opportunities before you start to go for the bigger ones. Otherwise, you can burn all your funding in poorly targeted marketing.
Yeah.
Right off the bat.
Done that.
Yeah, we all have.
Yeah, done that, absolutely. Okay, and the other thing is your business planning program. I'm not sure if I'm saying this correctly, but you've got a business planning program, haven't you, that you can input all your facts and figures in, and it will give you some structure. I mean, that's very much simplifying it. Robert's actually got a much more credible background than I'm giving him credit for right now. Very, very intelligent man. Can you tell us a little bit about that? I mean, we're broadcast today on business planning, but your program is quite fantastic, really, isn't it?
Yeah,
would you explain a little bit about that?
We've taken quite a long time to develop it, but essentially what happened was that we realised that when you have 90% of businesses that start up failing at all, completely failing, or failing to achieve the level of success that the entrepreneur hoped it would achieve, we started to ask ourselves, why would that be? How can so many be wrong?
Yeah.
It seemed an incredible number.
Yeah.
So we started to look at modeling these businesses and seeing how they could get it so wrong so easily. Most of us, that is, I mean, it's not saying that other people, it's all of us in business are recognizing that it's tough. So we started to model it, and you can't use just a simple tool like a spreadsheet, because everything in business depends on everything else. And if you look at the heart, that is the heart of business success, that's showing how it all feeds together. So there's a circularity to everything that you do. And that circularity means that it's actually quite difficult to model everything in a business and understand how everything affects everything else. In the end, what it affects is your cash flow. And if you're not sufficiently well funded, then you're going to run out of cash. And that's why you fail. So the essence of our program, which is a software tool, we don't sell the software tool. We actually facilitate use the tool on behalf of our customers to give them a balanced business plan. And a balanced business plan is a plan to achieve your ambition that's balanced to your level of funding. So if you have a certain level of ambition, which is all very, very good, we like people to have that ambition, but there's no way they can get that kind of funding, then we rebalance it until it actually makes sense. So it's better to grow slower, but knowing that you won't trip up, or you have a better chance of doing it without tripping up, than it is to go off too fast and then trip up through cash flow problems too quickly, and then you lose the lot. And UK PLC loses a great potential entrepreneur and all the tax revenues associated with that. So, our goal is to be the company most known for helping small businesses to improve their success rate. That's our kind of mission statement. So we do that by sitting with a business owner and working out that plan. So not everybody who we work with is actually looking for external finance. They just want to make their chance of success, increase their chance of success. And we've launched, actually, Bradley, I must tell you this, we've launched a service whereby we do it remotely now. So we've cut the price back a bit, and we run it on a remote basis. So we talk to them for the new client every day for 5 days. And each time we ask them, so the first day we talk about their customers and how they expect to get the revenues and the products to service that. The next day we talk about what it is that they need in order to service the customers. Then we look at the overheads. We build the whole thing every day. We're building this model for them after we finish talking to them. And finally, we share the screen with them over the internet and show them the model, and then allow them to balance it. We facilitate it, but they balance it and they come to a wrap. And when they've got a wrap, where they say, yeah, okay, I really believe that I can achieve that with the level of funding that I've got. We wrap that up into a business plan and send it to them, and that's fit for finance as well. And they know that I've got a great chance of going and achieving that and not tripping up on the way.
That's fantastic.
And that really makes us feel good.
Yeah, that's really quite awesome. I mean, one of the things I've been talking quite a lot about recently is the different sort of character traits, the different characters that you have as an entrepreneur, because we're not all the same. Everybody's different. And one of the things that I find from my own challenge is that because you're involved in the business, it's your baby, you've built it, created it, birthed, canal, watched the baby grow. And as you rightly say, this baby will get to different stages depending on the level of success, but very few babies reach full maturity, if you excuse the analogy. Are there any things that we need to look at in terms of the way that the entrepreneur acts in his thoughts that are determining a certain outcome? And if we were to change the way that he thinks, it could become, excuse me, it could mean that there's a different outcome. Is that what the business modeling program helps you to do as an entrepreneur and a business owner? Because we don't always like to be told things, and we have to open ourselves to the fact that we're not perfect. We've got a dream, we've got an aspiration, we've got a product and a service which we've either want to get live or we've got live. But it's not always easy for someone from the outside to get someone to see common sense that you can see from a holistic point of view. So does this business modeling program help entrepreneurs perhaps change the way they think? Because that's a very important. Business planning is not just about making a plan. It's you've also got to look at the way that you perhaps come up with a plan and change the thought process, certainly.
I think you're right. I mean, there are a couple of things to say about this. One is that entrepreneurs are hungry, generally hungry. So they want to get going straight away. They really want to head off and start doing. And that's great. And we should do that. But if you're in London and you don't know whether you're going to Edinburgh or Cardiff, you don't know whether to get on the M1 or the M4. So it's a great idea to know where you're going ultimately, or where you would like to get to, so that you can make some very good, sensible business decisions to start with to get you on that track.
Yeah.
But recognize, and we say to all the people that we work with, that the one thing that we can be sure about the business plan, as soon as we finished it, is that it's wrong, because it's about the future, so it has to be wrong. So recognize that it's not a static document, it should be a dynamic document. So it's very important to say, that's what I was trying to achieve. How well have I done against that? Having a goal. People say just writing down a goal gives you a better chance of achieving that goal than not doing so. And a business plan is a bit like that, but even better. So you're saying, what do I need to achieve? How many customers do I need to achieve this month? Did I do it? No, I didn't. So if you didn't, does that mean you're now going to pare back your ambition, or are you going to try harder next month to make up for the deficit? But what are you going to do differently, not only to make sure you don't fall in the same trap in the next month, but make up for that deficit?
Yeah, sure.
So having goals that are mapped out, okay, we do 5 years, and then each of those 5 years is broken down. Clearly the 5th year, it is a bit sort of, we don't know quite how that's going to go, but once you've got that, you know that it's Edinburgh or Cardiff, but come back to the first year, and then come back to the first 3 months, and then come back to the first month, and then come back to the first week. There has to be some activity that you go out and do and actually make it happen. So my advice is, yeah, you've got that enthusiasm, bottle it up for a moment, decide where it is that you really want to get to, and if you got to that, would it satisfy you? Would it actually have reached what your expectations are? Because sometimes we talk to people and we model their business, and they say, is that it? Is that all it's going to be worth? And we say, yeah. And they say, why am I doing it then? Well, maybe you shouldn't. Do something else now, not wait till you get there.
There's an immediate realisation rather than a waiting period, which is much better to know now rather than the realisation in a few years' time that actually something hasn't quite worked out. Which is perfect, isn't it?
And no one's going to buy your business for what you think. They think that I'm going to have a £10 million business in 5 years.
Yeah.
And actually, the chances are, even if you hit all these goals, it's still only going to be worth £1 million at the most.
Yeah, great.
But
doesn't it also come back to the fact, and this I was talking to someone the other day about this, that we will, as human beings, and when we're doing our business plan, we will overestimate what we can do in the 6 to 12 to 18 month period, and we will underestimate what we'll do in the 5-year period. So how do you help entrepreneurs stop overestimating and stop underestimating within the relevant time frames? Because we do, it's a fact, isn't it?
Okay. The best way to answer that is to say that we don't call ourselves business consultants, we don't even call ourselves business coaches, although there's an element of that in what we do. We call ourselves business catalysts, and that's because we show them on the screen the results of the activity that they're probably going to do that we've modelled. So we don't say, oh well, it's going to be like that, or it's not going to be like that, and you should do this. Because they'll say, well, who are you to tell me this? So what we do is say, if they said, I'm thinking of doing this, but I could do this, we say, well, let's have a look. If you did that, that would happen. Look, but if you did this, it would be more like this. And then they can say, well, I'm going to do that then, aren't I? Yeah, I reckon so. But the results are on the computer screen, so we sit side by side. We don't sit across the table from them.
Yeah, got it.
We sit side by side, and
sure.
we help them to see it. We catalyse the change because we give them the screen to be able to see what they should be doing. And it's a bit like, you know, you've seen Little Britain, and computer says no. It's a bit like that.
Yeah, of course.
You know?
It's a great realisation. I guess there's obviously a time element between getting information, because computer programs are only as good, the information that they send out is only as good as the information you get. It's like the old sausage factory. If you put the right amount of sausage meat in, you get these fantastic sausages, but you don't, and we saw that on The Apprentice.
Yeah, we did.
But the sausage making, so how do you ensure that the information that you're putting into the model is right? Because you're reliant on the entrepreneur to furnish the right information, so the sausage machine churns out the right objective. So is that an important process?
That's a really good question. Yeah. It's such a good question, because you hear very many people say business plans are not worth it because you know it's wrong.
Yeah.
Sure you do, but you also know that if there's a certain parameter that you're looking at and you say, well, you don't know what that is. I don't know what my conversion rate's going to be because it's new. Yeah. So I've never done this before. So it could be much worse than I expect it to be. But what you can do is say, look, if it's less than this, then your business isn't going to achieve what you want it to achieve. Therefore, you have to make it that. Now, what do we do to make it that?
Yeah, sure.
I'll give you an example. I was with a client who wanted to buy premises. And it was a great deal that they had the opportunity to get these particular premises. I'm not going to go into any detail because it's confidential.
Yeah.
But they called up and said,
Buckingham Palace is difficult.
Or even thinking of it. So we modelled it and said they were going into a negotiation with them, and they did the right thing. They said, can you come along? Can you model it? Can we look at it? What does it mean for our business? Because the last thing we want is to go and get this and then find that we lose what we've already built up over the last few years.
Yeah.
So we modelled it, we looked at it, and we said, you have to hit this, 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 and this in your negotiation. Otherwise, walk away.
Yeah.
And actually, they walked away because they couldn't get it. But they said what was great was the fact that you equipped us for the negotiation.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, the chances are
it could have made a mistake.
We would have done it.
Yeah, costly.
We would have done it. We were enthusiastic. We'd have gone by the seat of our pants.
It would have been based on emotion rather than commercial business sense. Yeah, yeah.
So you're right to say, but you don't have all the information, and it's only as good as what you put in.
Yeah.
That's true, but you can also say, if this parameter isn't that level, like if you have to accept this much rent, for example, then don't do it. Or if it's going to cost you this much to do a refurb on it, then you can't make it viable. Or if you don't hit these conversion rates for prospect to customer, then you're not going to make it. So what can you do to improve that?
Yeah.
Let's look at your website compared with your competitors. Let's look at your other marketing collateral. Well, look, who would you buy from if you lay these out in front of you?
Yeah.
You know, be unemotional about this. Oh, I'd buy from them. Right, that's your competitor. Okay, what do you need to do to turn that into that? Well, I need to make mine look better than that. Okay, how much is it going to cost? I'm going to have to spend a few £1,000s. Right, okay, so we need to put a few £1,000s in the budget.
Yeah.
Which means that you might need to borrow a bit more.
Yeah.
But if you don't, you're going to go off doing all this other work, but your conversion rate of getting the customers to say yes to you isn't going to be there.
And your competitor is going to be clearing up as well by all accounts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we can help them to recognise whether they should spend money on an asset.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes they say, you know, I'm going to go and buy this this vehicle or this machinery. Why are you going to do that? Because then it's going to improve things. Okay, but it's going to hammer your cash flow. Look. Which means you're not got the budget for your marketing.
Yeah.
Why don't you lease it? Oh, because it's not as profitable. No, but you don't run out of cash, do you? Look, you run out of cash if you do that.
Absolutely.
So you can grow faster,
yeah.
and then you can buy it further down the line.
Absolutely.
So business decisions can be related to the model.
Yeah.
So yes, you're right. It's about what you put in, but sometimes it feeds back to what you put in and says, right, you have to achieve those things, or you don't do it.
Yeah. I mean, this is kind of great because you were talking in one of the 7 mistakes about building credibility.
Yeah.
And I'm getting a feeling, because I've not physically used the program, and I know God only you've urged me to look at this for some years, and perhaps given the recent the challenges I've been through, perhaps doing it the hard way, I should be doing this without a doubt. But I'm imagining that once people come around to the concept of the systems that you've built and you've put into place, and obviously given your experience, and they use the system, you've gained a degree of credibility as a business owner and the producer of the systems that you've got in place. And that would mean if someone uses your system, they see the benefits from it. Again, you're getting a recurring customer. So what you're actually preaching is what your business model is doing itself.
Exactly.
True?
That's true.
Yeah, because if your business model wasn't doing what you were saying in your own plan, then what you're selling would make sense.
That's right.
Which is kind of cool.
That's
because
right.
What you're doing is it does exactly what it says on the tin.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, I'm not sitting here because you invited me, and I think you're a good guy, so I've come along to.
Well, yeah, actually, there's an element of that
Well,
because
of course,
you've been very supportive of me. But
It's a
no,
small
of course.
The main reason is because I wanted to get in front of your database with my offering.
Yeah, you've got a product.
And people will increase their level of success hopefully by doing this kind of thing. So when I look at my marketing plan, it says I need to get in front of this many people, and this is one way to do that, along with all the other things that I do. So yes, by having a target there means that have I got in front of enough people this month? I need to make sure that next month I'm in front of enough people, and next month. So you know, I do various different things.
Yeah, of course, and
make sure I'm in front, or all the people are in front of enough people, and I've done enough PR, enough.
Which I saw you in another magazine recently, and it looked very, very professional.
Thank you.
Well, listen, thank you so much, Robert, for joining us today. I've really enjoyed it. We've been going about 46 minutes now. We said we wouldn't rattle on for that time, but I've always think it's good at the end to do a little bit of sort of personal one-to-one interaction, because I think it humanises everything. But again, please feel free to contact robert.copping@sitepath.co.uk and website sitepath.co.uk to get your free download here. Hopefully you can see that underneath the light. Is it the only download, or are there a number of other downloads available?
That's on the home page, so we've made it really easy to grab.
Yep, got it.
We do have a number of others. If you're looking for a loan, for example, there's a specific one about that, which is businessloanrequired.com. If you're looking for an investor, there's one that's specific for that, which is businessinvestorrequired.com. So depending on what you need to achieve, that's there are three there that might work for you. But this one, regardless of whether you're getting after money or whether it's your own money, then I urge you to read that. It's not going to cost you anything, so it's not going to be hard.
And please feel free to contact Robert and his team, and of course the book, great read. I've had a run through that myself, got completely dizzy, because actually the books does kind of make sense, you know, follow this and follow that, and actually you're going to get a result. It should be start time I follow through on lots of the books that I get given to read. I should be starting to action those, but I've really enjoyed today's podcast. Robert's a dear friend, has been a great supporter of your business, and if you want to contact me directly with regards to Robert, or you want us to hook you up, or you're looking at some other aspect of joint venture or any other business opportunity, please feel free to contact me in due course, or Robert directly as per the screen instructions. Actually, next time on Raw TV, we've got Mr. Michael Page, who's coming in tomorrow at 5:30 to do a Raw webcast. All that leaves us to say today is thank you very much indeed for joining us on Raw TV this evening. We hope you enjoyed the webcast, whether you're looking at it live or you're looking at it in the recorded archives. It's been a very interesting one. That's it from me. It's have a great evening from myself and from Robert.
Good luck.
There we go. There you've had it. Thank you very much indeed for listening, guys. Fantastic. Thanks once again for your support. Dreams to reality, everybody. Thank you.